Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Mark Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And on today's episode of Real Talk Christian Podcast, we are in part 2 of Ask RTC Anything. Fuller, you ready to do this again?
Let's go.
Fuller, welcome back to part 2, my friend.
Part 2. And what did we say at the very beginning before we hit the record button? We said we're going to keep the banter low because we want to dive right back in. We still have so many more questions from our listeners. But first, before we jump into it, what kind of coffee are we drinking tonight, Mark?
Mexican High Grown.
Mexican High Grown.
Again,
the RTC.
Again. And just like last time, still no reviews because
All right,
this is the last one. So if you want to hear some banter, go back and listen to part 1 of Ask RTC Anything because we're rolling right into part 2. And we're just going to go.
Let's go.
Mark, you're going to ask me the question first.
Mark, I
feel like we're so rushed because we got so many good questions.
I want to make sure we get to them all.
Okay.
And I don't want to keep our listeners for 2 hours. So, Mark.
I'm nervous.
Are the gifts of the Holy Spirit gone, or are they still here today?
Okay, so for people who don't know the gifts of the Spirit, those are the New Testament ones, speaking in tongues, prophecy, mercy, all these different things. I am what you would call a continuationalist. I'm not a sensationalist, which means I don't think that the tongues and the prophecy have gone away. I still think there are gifts in the church today. Now, I grew up being taught that there's certain gifts that are still here and certain ones that are not. And then how do you know which one is real and which one is not?
Right.
And the biggest one was always tongues and prophecies. And the answer is when the perfect has come, the tongues and the old will be done away with. And so what was always the perfect that these pastors would talk about? They would talk about the canon, the Bible, is we have God's complete revelation, so we don't need tongues and prophecy anymore because we already have it. So that's what I was taught as a kid. Right. But, I've heard of so many different stories where what is actually speaking in tongues. And there's the kind with, Day of Pentecost where they heard that Peter was speaking, whatever language he was speaking, but everyone else could hear it in their own language. Yeah. They could hear it clearly. I've heard stories of that still happening.
Well, because Jerusalem was a city filled with travelers. I mean, it really was. It was the capital of Israel, so it was full of travelers coming to and fro around that area. So.
And each one heard it in their own language. Right. So to answer the question, no, I still think they're gifts, but I put myself in the camp of I still think they're there, but you got to be cautious about it because they're very easy to abuse. Like you see a lot of I'll just say it, Assemblies of God, Pentecostal Church, just speaking in tongue stuff where it turns into a weird, holy roller, awkward dog barking, laughing, look at me. I'll just toss this out there too. You see the spontaneous worship stuff from Bethel for 20-minute long Waymaker, and when you watch this different stuff happen, I'm like, are you doing this to get the attention, or are where's the heart in this? Because that's where a lot of the stuff is. I still think the gifts of healings are there. I still think a lot of these other gifts are there. So no, I'm not a sensationalist. I still think the gifts are available. I have a different interpretation maybe than some about what prophecy is. Like I actually have a very tight definition on what I believe a prophecy is. I still think they can be there.
This is off the cusp. Okay. Real quick. What's your definition of prophecy? My definition
of prophecy is being able to speak into someone's life in such a way where it speaks to exactly what they need when you don't even know. So when for example, there was one person specifically, and I don't think you're gonna go there and you're gonna meet the apple of your eye and all these different things, and you meet someone whose name means apple and I think that's a little weird, but it can happen. But it's more the fact of you can speak into someone's life, into a situation. You know what I mean?
So my definition of a prophecy is more. I think it's traditional.
Where you speak something about the future.
I not even necessarily that, but it has to be a word from God.
Right, but what makes a word from God?
Because what is a prophecy? Prophecy is something given by a prophet, and a prophet, if you look back through biblical times, was always somebody that was getting a direct word from God to go and tell his people. Right. So that to me is my definition of a prophecy. Now, that's just an opinion. I'm not saying.
Right. Like I think about it this way, where it's like, after the, I don't want to get too far into it, but after the whole blow up that happened in my life that led to all the fun situations, someone said, I'm gonna speak into your life real quick right now.
Right.
And I'm like, that's kind of, I feel like that's the modern day prophecy speaking because I'm a prophet spoke into a situation about what could happen if they do certain things.
But every prophet it was not his words, it was God's.
It was the words of God. And so you have to back it up with scripture. So you can't just be like, oh, you know what, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and you're going to get a new jet. Yeah, God, don't say that.
Yeah, right.
But
no, I think more modern day is more of an encouragement style than a prophetic word, I guess would be the better term for it. But I'm kind of with you on the gift things. I am not dumb enough to ever put God in a box and say, God,
yes.
Like that's the thing everybody wants to put. Oh, their gifts were for them; they're not for today. That's like putting God in the box. That's like saying, well, he can't do that anymore. He can't use people. He can't allow those gifts to flow through his belief or through his children. I ain't that dumb.
No.
God's understanding of things is way above mine and anybody else's on this earth, and so he could definitely use it. And I like that.
I like that. No, I just drank my coffee and it was too hot, and I just burnt the side of my mouth and my tongue. So if I start talking weird, I apologize because it hurts.
If he starts talking like this, all right, Mark,
it hurts. It hurts.
It's your turn, man. You got enough in you to answer or ask a question?
Yeah, I think so. Let's do this one. This is another cultural one, not theological. I don't get this from your perspective. Does being a Christian limit what we can listen to and watch? Is there a line, and what is it? This is honestly a hard wrestle.
This is a hard one to put in. Try to keep it under 5 minutes, but I'm going to try.
Let's go.
Yes, there is a limit of what we can listen to and watch, and no, there isn't a limit. So we have freedom in Christ, right?
Did you just say yes and no again?
Yeah, I did.
That's like 2 episodes in a row you're giving my answers off.
Okay, so no, there isn't a limit because we have freedom in Christ. We have free will. We have the choice to do whatever we want.
Even the Apostle Paul said,
now
you can do all things.
Now, yes, there is a limit because the things we do. I think of the old Sunday school song. Oh, Sunday school.
The old Sunday school song.
Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. I think the things we see and the things we listen to and the things we say, back to that episode of Taming the Tongue, influences and brings out things that shouldn't necessarily be there, or images can, I think about pornography, and they say that if a guy watches pornography, that image is like burned into his mind for the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. Like you'll never really forget about that image. Or if a girl watches pornography or an image in a movie, it's always stored in the data bank of their mind, and no matter how much you want it to be gone, you can't. And so now there's that constant temptation of lust, of adultery in your heart.
And it changes your psyche a little bit.
It does. Well, yeah, I wasn't going to get so much into that, but yeah, it does.
Pornography,
and to me,
your brain
personally, I'll get a little personal here.
Oh.
So when I was a young adult, probably the same age of your seniors, maybe a little older, I had a pretty bad breakup. And what did I do during the first part of the breakup? Man, I just listened to the most depressing music. And you know what it did?
So you listened to Taylor Swift?
No, I listened to I can't even think of their name now. The Dave Matthews Band. I listened to a lot of his stuff, but it's depressing stuff.
Okay. Yep.
And then Vertical Limit. I listened to a lot of their stuff.
I don't know them.
And then what was the other one? There was another one, and I really loved it. But anyways, but I listened to all this depressing music, and what did it do? It kind of made me depressed even more.
So it sunk you farther into the hole.
It did. And so that's where you got to be careful. And Brandon Soche came on when we talked about music and what Christians should listen to, worship, and all that stuff. This was way back when we
first started.
Yeah,
man.
First
That's
started.
early on.
But I don't necessarily think a genre of music. He said it best. It's not about so much the genre. It's about the words and the heart behind it
and the
content that's in it. Right, exactly. And so I think that content has to be the line. Is it honoring to God? And is it uplifting to us? I'm not saying that you can only listen to Christian music,
Yeah,
because I listen to oldies.
But what about
Like-
the stuff like, I'm looking through one of the playlists that I jam out to. I mean, it's not always the
I'm
greatest
not going to
stuff.
know who any of these people
Yeah,
are.
you are. Yeah, you are. Like, like We the Kings, you know them?
Yeah.
And then there's also like, oh my goodness, I'm having a massive brain fart. Boys Like Girls. Then there's, Fountains of Wayne, Bowling for Soup. Boys Like Girls is The Great Escape.
You've lost me at.
You know Stacy's mom.
Oh yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
like the classic song from
Okay,
when we
gotcha.
were like late elementary, junior high.
No,
early high school,
I was
right?
high school when that came out.
Shut up.
Dude, I was high school.
I
I'm
was
older than you.
like, I guess I was like 7th grade. So yeah, I mean that would put you in high school. So
Yeah.
I was like 7th grade.
Yeah,
Like that was the song,
Right.
and that was still like, it's just a random
see,
playlist.
the
that goes
content
through.
there is a little
Dirty Little
it's
Secret. It's not good. It's not all good, but
Right.
we'll have these stuff on. It's like, it's the old Steve Harvey meme where it's like when the beat's fire, but it doesn't help my walk with the Lord. Like,
Right,
it's a
exactly.
classic meme. But there's the question of is just because it has this content, does that mean you just have to stay away from it if the content's not all great, but it's not all good either? Like even in Disney movies, it's not all good stuff.
And we talked about that in our second episode. And I said that I got, when I watched a Disney movie, I saw attributes of God and how the Christian should walk in these Disney movies based on how they would act or treat each other. Now, not the whole movie. I'm not saying everything. But I kind of the same way with music, for me personally, of does it help me to stay in a positive mood, and does it draw me closer to God, or does it take me further down that rabbit hole of darkness?
So do you think that could depend on your emotional state?
I think so. Now, I personally would stay away from anything like me. This is my personal opinion. I would stay away from like, if it's a song about sex, or it's a song about blaspheming God, or demoralizing women, or anything like that, I would stay away from, because those aren't God honoring things. So you got to be careful with it. So
right, and it's one of those things where like my favorite genre is the pop punk emo 2000 genre. That's one of my favorite
mine's
ones.
folk music.
I have a folk song that I just found that I love.
Yeah.
But some of this stuff isn't necessarily, I don't want to call it, it's just bad, but I gotta be careful what mood I'm in, because if I'm in a more of a depressed state, it'll send me back down the spiral of woe is me, the world's, it's emo. It's the definition of what emo is. So you gotta be careful what music you're listening to.
Right.
But I think of some of the teenagers, like one of the most popular songs out there from the Chainsmokers, and I don't even know if you know the Chainsmokers
I
are.
have no idea.
They have Closer. I know the song Closer. So baby, pull me closer in the backseat of it's all about these two people where they haven't seen each other in a bit, so they do it. And so the whole song is literally them having sex and explaining it.
Yeah.
And like, I saw you from across the bar, and I'm gonna pull you closer, and all of a sudden, pull the sheets right off. It is explicit, dude, and it's not mean it's not explicit to some, because it's on every freaking place you go. Like that's the thing. Like you go to Target, you go everywhere, it's there.
I don't even pay attention. I didn't even know they had music.
I also listen to
Target.
mainstream, so I listen to mainstream music, so that's part of it.
You know what mainstream is for me?
Crap.
Is 2005 and older. That's mainstream in my, like, I'm still learning songs from back then.
I still love mainstream, and I'm a mainstream guy. I've
that's
been
fine.
mainstream,
And
so when emo punk was mainstream, that's what I listened to.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Just be careful with the content, and be careful where it takes you.
And if you struggle with certain things, like I'm speaking to my teens here. I was thinking my teens, or even me, when I'm struggling with certain things, what I put into my face and what I put into my ears, is that what's going to help build me up and edify me at that time, or is that going to send me farther down? So if I'm dealing with depression and loneliness, should I put on my should I put on my My Chemical Romance? No. Should I put on Linkin Park, where in the end it doesn't even matter? No, I probably shouldn't put that on, even though it's fire.
What about Crawling in My Skin?
No, I'm not even gonna try to do the voice. That was bad. But you have these songs, and it's like, if I'm dealing with this, I don't want to just sit there and be like, I'm just a kid and my life is a nightmare. It's like, no, that ain't building you up. But at the same time, it's the same idea of the Bible says, guard your heart above all else, because out of it flows. I'm just going to say, out of it flows your issues. The issues you got is because of what's in your heart, and what we put in the heart causes the issues to flow out.
Right.
So,
yeah,
I think that's that question. Okay, what you got for me, Fuller?
So,
sorry, guys, those were long 2 questions. Okay.
So we see the quote, We also quote the verse in James about the loving the widow and the orphan.
Okay.
But how does the church love the widow and the orphan in this day and age?
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. So the verse in James is true religion is loving widows and orphans in their stress. That's
Right.
the verse in James. Now, this one's a little personal to me because I'm a child of a widow.
Right.
I'm not an orphan. I'm not an orphan, and I'm never going to put myself in that category. But I'm a son of a widow. So
You son of a widow. Sorry.
I wish I had. I'm going to put a beep track on this one next time, so that way when you do it, I can just put your son.
That's when you're supposed to be.
Oh, I wasn't ready.
Anyways.
I wasn't ready. But I'm a son of a widow, so it's like, okay, so what does this look like?
Right. It's stuck in my head, man. Real talk.
Tim Hawkins just created a new Christian cuss word. So I'm a son of a widow. Okay,
Son of a widow.
It is. I think people. I think they got it. I think they got it. I won't say it again.
Son of a
but
widow.
So what does this look like for my mom? You know, but
Right.
when you read that text, it's not, and even throughout the New Testament, it's not just blanket. Oh, if you're a widow, just do it. But what does it say? If there's a widow who has family nearby, the family needs to step up and take care
Right.
of them. If the kids
which was
or whatnot.
which was the culture of that
Right,
day.
because back then, I should say, I'll go into the culture, then I'll say what the text is trying to say. The culture was if a husband died, that's it. The woman was not able to really get a job. She wasn't able to do all these different things. So sadly, a lot of women would go into prostitution just to get money.
Right.
Because
we talked about that a few
we
episodes
talked about
ago.
it. And we're not saying that it's good or bad. It's just that's culture. We're looking back
Right.
at history. And so back then, if you were a widow, you couldn't have a job. You couldn't have a house. You couldn't have this because it was a patriarchal society.
Right.
So if you did not have family to move in with, you were not taken care of. We see that with Naomi and Ruth and the Boaz story. That's
Right.
what all of that's about. That's why they moved back to where they came from. And
Even though
that's
they
why,
weren't welcome.
And that's why Naomi told Ruth to go to Boaz's field because it's family.
Right.
And then, one thing led to another, bada boom, married, popping out babies, and then lineage of Jesus. So if you want to, if you want a man, girls, go lay at a dude's feet. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's bad
that's
advice.
not what I'm saying.
Bad
That is not
advice.
what I'm
That was
saying.
a different culture, sir.
Just wait for your
Anyways,
Boaz. So,
so how does that pertain to
so how does it
this day and
pertain to
age?
today? So at the end of the day, we have to look at the fact of what does it mean is when you took care of widows and orphans in their distress, you were taking care of people as the church who could not take care of themselves and could never pay you back.
Right.
So
You were taking care of the actual need.
the actual needs, because if you were an orphan, it's like Aladdin, the street rat. He had to rob to eat bread. Your favorite movie. And widows couldn't do anything, so the church took it upon themselves to take care of their own. I think the foster care movement is one way to take care of widows and orphans in their distress.
Beth Schneider.
Beth Schneider, our girl Beth from episode 39 with Beth Schneider and the Schneider ladies. I think foster care is one. I think adoption's another one.
The Howbolds.
How bold are the Howbolds? Micah and Nicole with Baby Maple and the Brolins and the Sowers.
Yep.
And
We have a lot.
that's the way the church is supposed to step up and do it. So I think fostering is one of those things. Our youth group, I put the weight of responsibility on this, and we're gonna have a compassion child, and you guys are gonna take care of it because this is a kid who can't he's in a third world country. Without us helping him, can he get his school? Can he get his education? Can he get his sickness? So I'm like, this is the least we can do. This is bottom of the barrel, is to have a compassion child for the teens. But I think you need to look around in your culture and go, who are the people that need the most help, who can't do anything for themselves?
Right.
And those are who you're supposed to take care of.
It's like you don't give a $10 bill to a millionaire, right? They're not in need.
Oh.
But the homeless guy that's picking up cans out of the garbage, all right, that $10 bill, if that's all you got, means a lot. That's helping to take care of the needy.
And I will say this, and when you read taking care of widows and orphans in their distress, I mean, this was also talking about those inside the church too.
Right.
So so I think of the shut-ins. Who are the shut-ins that literally have nothing? How are we taking care of them?
Right.
Those who are disabled and can't get out, are we taking
definitely.
care of them? And I'm preaching to myself because I'm like, dang, Mark, you got to step it up. So I just think of, look around, who are the people that can never, ever pay you back? And I'm thinking back to Beth Schneider. She talked about her bio parents. Her blog's been thriving. She wrote about the fact of how much she tries to keep the kids engaged with bio parents and what that means. And these bio parents
and we discussed that in
druggies.
episode 39.
They get locked in jail. They do all these different things. And Beth is like, no, I mean, this is part of the kid's story. You know,
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely, definitely.
That's my answer for that one.
That's a good answer, man.
That's a
I like
long
that.
one. I'm sorry. It was 5 minutes though. 5 minutes on the dot.
Heck yeah, you're the man.
Oh, do I get to ask you a question now?
Yep, it's your turn, buddy. Oh, he's gonna make it a hard one now. I see the smile. I'm gonna make it quick. I'm gonna make it 10 words or less.
10 words or less?
Yeah, whatever I answer. Now you're trying to find the one that I can.
Where's the line between being passive about sin and giving yourself grace?
Jesus. Done.
Explain?
The-
So the thing where it's like passive about sin of like, oh, it's just sin, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, sin so grace may abound versus showing yourself grace that, oh, you're such a lowly, wretched sinner, not going like and beating yourself because of your sin. Where's that line?
It all has to do with the heart. 8 words?
8 words. Well, what does that mean?
All has to do with the heart. So we have freedom in Christ. We have grace. We have mercy. The sins have already been paid for and bought with a price. The reason why we read that scripture where it says, should I continue to sin that grace may abound? God forbid. It's all about the heart.
Because that's Paul saying
do
you
that?
actively sin. It's, oh, I'm good.
Right.
God's got me.
But it's
Which we all do, let's be honest.
why would you want to purposely hurt someone who cares so deeply and loves you and that you supposedly love them, right? A follower of the way, a follower of God, follower of Jesus, a Christian, whatever title you want to throw on it, is supposed to be madly in love with Christ, so much so that they want to be like Christ. Well, Christ isn't that way. Christ doesn't go out seeking sin. As a matter of fact, when we sin, we should have such a sorrowful heart. That shows that the Holy Spirit's working and convicting us. And if we don't have that, then I would worry a little bit, to be honest with you.
So,
if you can sin and it doesn't bother you, I would worry that you are even a Christian, to be honest.
So real quick then, follow up. If someone does sin, what should they do?
Repent, ask for forgiveness, realize that God forgives you as far as the east is from the west. Don't wallow in the negativeness of the sin, but be sorrowful. There's a difference there. Being sorrowful, if I'm sorry to my wife, I sincerely apologize. Sincerely is a big thing. Sincerely apologize to her and try not to do it again. However I sinned against her, hurt her, or whatever. I would not want to purposely hurt the person that I love. So I do my best not to do it again. Now, some things, we're just stupid and make the same mistake because we're guys, but
and not just guys, but we're humans.
Right, exactly. And so
dudes are dumb.
Dudes are
dudes and dumb. Dudes are not dudes and dumb.
Dudes aren't dumb. Dudes are fallen. I hate to say that the dudes are. I hate dudes are dumb because we have a responsibility placed on us as the heads of the house, and when we constantly go around as a male culture saying, "Oh yeah, dudes are dumb," or girls call us, then that actually takes our role and puts it down at the bottom.
And that's a call. That's a call for the guys who are dumb to step up.
Right? Yeah, it's time to quit being dumb and start taking responsibility and walk in your role. But anyways,
all right. What's the next one we got? So that was what question was that one? Where's the line between being passive about sin and giving yourself grace?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's my turn, isn't it? I think it's my turn to ask a question.
Yeah.
What does it mean to quench the spirit?
I knew you were going to ask this one. I feel like I need to pull the verse up because the verse itself isn't even popping into my head. 1 Thessalonians 5:19 says, it just says, do not quench the spirit.
There you go. Done. Next question.
You're welcome. No, I'll answer this one quickly. When you quench the spirit, it's without going into too much. I haven't studied it. I'm not prepared to go deep. I'm just this off the cuff is when you have that little voice inside your head that says, you probably should go do this. You probably should talk to that person. Or you probably should not do what you're thinking about you're supposed to do. You probably should not say what you're about to say.
The Holy Spirit kind of nudging.
Yeah. And you feel that feeling of, I should do this, I shouldn't do this. It goes back to that story with you where you're like, you know what? No, I got to help these people that were in that accident and ended up being a really interesting situation.
Right.
Or, you know, I think of some opportunities I had where it's like, you know, I feel like I need to give this person this thing. And it ends up being super cool. Right. Or, and I struggle with this when it's like, do you ever play the mind game in your head where it's like, oh, if they say this, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And
of course.
You know what I mean?
I think everybody does
Everyone does. But, you know, I think there's a lot of, it shows your emotional maturity and it shows your wisdom that you have to be able to go, you know what? It's probably not right versus like, that's not right, but I don't care. I'm saying it anyways. I think that's quenching the spirit. In terms of God's telling you to do something, you're like, nope, sit down, shut up. It's my turn to do my thing. Go away.
I would agree. I think that, you know, there's that scripture that God speaks to us in a still small voice, you know, that we've heard that for a long time. And I think that's that nudging of the Holy Spirit into us. And like
quench means to put out.
Right. If I hear that small voice saying, hey, that person needs a meal, go give them a meal or bring them to your house and feed them. And I say, yes. Okay, now I've just listened to the Holy Spirit. That's that God's that inner voice, but it lines up with Scripture. All right, so God always will never. He will always never. That doesn't make sense.
How does that work?
He will never contradict what He's already said in the Scripture.
Yep.
And more than likely, it will always line up. So, if you feel that type of nudge, you can pretty much bet it's the Holy Spirit. Whether it's do this or don't do this, if it lines up with Scripture, you know that is probably the Holy Spirit. And if you don't listen and are not obedient, yeah, you're right. You probably quenching the Spirit. I totally agree with you, Mark. So
thank you.
Go for it, bro.
Thank you.
Next question.
This question is one that you and I talked about a little bit last time we got together to record off air. We talked about this one off air. And I don't even know how to answer it. But how come Jesus, after he did his miracles, told people, don't tell anybody about it, bro? Like Jesus said, oh, don't tell anyone that I just made you walk. I just made you see. Or like, you know?
It depends, I guess, this is my opinion. I guess it all depends on
or the demon guy. Yeah. The demon
when do you think his public ministry started? When did that public ministry start? Did these miracles happen before the public ministry where he was speaking and teaching to masses? Or was it when he went to the temple and started teaching? Or, I mean,
a lot of people say his public ministry started at the feast when he did the water and the wine.
Yes, but then you have to take into account what he said to Mary, his mother. He said, it is not yet my time.
Okay.
So it all depends on when you look at, I guess, when did his ministry actually start? And I don't think there's any definitive way that we will actually know this. But for me, I would say that that's why he was telling those, hey, don't go talk about it. But Jesus is God. He knew that they weren't going to be able to contain it.
And I'll be honest, I honestly don't really know. I'll be humble enough to say I don't really know why he didn't tell. I've wondered that myself, where it's like, oh, I just made you walk. I just casted out a demon, but don't tell anybody.
Right?
Like, come on, Jesus.
But if you look at like the lame man who they dropped through the roof, right?
Right.
Jesus said, grab your bed and go your way, basically, like stand up and walk. And but first, before he said that, he said, you're forgiven of all sins. He said that to him first, which was like a huge
Well, he
no-no.
said, in your friend's faith.
Right. But it was a huge no-no, especially because the Pharisees and Sadducees, I mean, that was like a big no-no,
right,
to say those types of things.
And it was on the Sabbath.
Right.
No, not the roof. That was the guy at the pulpit.
But saying that somebody was forgiven of all their sins and their sins were washed away was blasphemy.
Who can forgive but God?
Right, exactly.
Not the Pope. The Pope can't forgive your sins.
Sorry.
People.
Penance.
The Pope even said, you can talk to God about this during COVID. Right.
Did you see the meme of him with the blessing people with the squirt gun.
That wasn't the Pope, was it?
I thought it was.
Was it? I thought that was just a priest. I think that's just a priest.
Well, I know, but there was a meme that said even the Pope is blessing people with the squirt gun, or social distancing or something. It made me laugh.
But either way.
But yeah, so but he told the lame man to go to the temple and show himself clean and follow the rituals to show that he was clean. Same with the
as a leopard.
Same with the leper, right? Yeah. So I mean, he did these things with these guys, and then we see others where he's like, "Don't tell anybody."
And maybe it was the fact of
but
if he didn't, it said don't tell anybody. Versus like, oh, go proclaim the majesty of my. And it's like, yeah, you're good. But they said don't tell anybody, and they were like, I can't help but tell you about Jesus. I don't know.
I mean, there's some people, and I knew this before. I watched that show, The Chosen, that I showed you.
Yeah, The Chosen
last week.
From VidAngel. Yeah,
right, from VidAngel. Right. Their belief, at least through this show, is that his public ministry started at the Samaritan woman at the well. And that she ran off, and then his ministry started in Samaria, and so that's just another take on it. So I guess you'd really have to see. Okay, I think that it makes sense that he would tell people not to go tell people because he didn't have his public ministry. He didn't want to do his public ministry. It wasn't his time.
Maybe once his public ministry. I mean, once his public ministry started, that's when people wanted him dead.
We obviously see that to his mother Mary and stuff like that. Like he did miracles. And said it wasn't my time. It wasn't my time.
Right.
So we know he had the power to do the miracles. But what was this? It's not my time. Well, that we all assume that that's his public ministry time, and so maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe. All right.
So that's just my answer.
Yeah.
My
opinion. Let's go to the next one. This is question number.
Wait. Isn't it my turn to ask? It is. You just.
That's what I'm saying. Like
okay.
We just finished question number 5, so we're going to question number 6, and these aren't getting easier.
No, they're actually getting a little bit.
These are not getting easier. Okay. What you got for me, boss?
Let's see.
Tell me what you got. What you really, really got.
Oh man, I'm trying to decide which one I want to do. Mark, you're a ministry guy.
I was about to drop the cricket sound on you. Okay. I'm a ministry guy. Okay.
You're a ministry guy. So what does it mean in our culture today to be the hands and feet of Jesus? What does that look like?
I like that term because I use it a lot.
I know.
I say it's time to go be the hands and feet of Jesus.
I always think of Todd Agnew. Wanna be your hands, wanna be your feet.
Yeah. I forgot about that song, dude.
That's the first time I'd ever really heard that saying. So,
and I heard that saying from Todd Agnew, but and this is where I struggle because we had a local mission trip here in Michiana, South Bend, Mishawaka, Elkhart area. That was SOS, Summer of Service, and it was all about being the hands and feet of Jesus. So what did we do? We went and we served.
Right.
The thing I did not like about SOS, and it changed over the years based on who was at the not the helm, but in the leadership position.
Right.
There wasn't a aspect of talking about your faith, or really there really wasn't anything about. I mean, you would pray with people at car wash and things like that. But I think of, okay, what does it mean to be the hands and feet of Jesus? What did Jesus do during his time here on earth?
Right.
He told people about the kingdom, but we also see that your faith needs to be backed up by works too. So when you be the hands and feet of Jesus, it's again, it might be looking out for the widows and orphans in their stress, foster care, building ramps for disabled people, working at food banks, working at maybe homeless shelters, mentoring people that could never pay you back.
Show me your faith without works, and I will show you my faith by my works.
By my works. And
not that works earn you anything.
Right. And I think it's one thing to say, oh, I'm a Christian, yay. But it's another thing to be like, yeah, that person over there, he's different.
Right.
Like he
There's
cares
something
for
about
people.
him,
He
right.
loves people. He's
Right.
kind. He's forgiving. He doesn't blow up.
He's helpful.
He's helpful. He's gracious. He works without people ever even talking to him. People aren't looking. The dude's still hustling and grinding.
Right.
Like that's being a good reputation. I think the terms "let's go be the hands and feet of Jesus" though, I think is taken a too far of a pendulum swing into today's community.
Yeah.
Like I see a couple churches that do this really well. Like we have a local art beat, which is the local art culture here in South Bend. They shut down the whole city for a day, and
I thought it was a weekend, but yeah, it could be a day.
I think it's just Saturday. Saturday. But they bring multiple artists and vendor booths and things like that. Well, there's a church that walks around. They talk with people. They hand out water. They pray with people. I'm like, you guys got it. You guys are just doing little small things that touch the community. But sometimes people will be like, we're going to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We're going to build wells. We're going to build benches. We're going to clean up cities.
I'm just going to pass out these tracts.
Well, that's not being the hands and feet of Jesus. That's called you're just throwing literature around. But
that's what I'm saying. Like
right.
they think that that's being the hands and feet, but they're just passing out tracts.
But it's the fact of why. And you don't want to do
Right.
a hook and like you don't want to do a bait and switch where it's like, hey, come to this massive thing. All right, now sit for 20 minutes. We want to talk about Jesus, and you didn't expect it.
Right.
But I think being the hands and feet of Jesus is doing the things in your community to serve your community, to show the community that our church cares about us to the point of this. Like I think of this church is pouring into this community. They're cleaning up the city. They're doing all these kind of things. So why are you guys doing this? Well, we do this because we love God and we love Jesus, and He tells us to love our neighbor, so we're loving on you.
Right.
Well, okay, so tell me about this Jesus. Some churches will do the quote-unquote be the hands and feet of Jesus, but never open their mouths. They're just humanitarian effort-style churches.
Which even the world does.
100%. But then there's the other churches, which is the side that I kind of come out of, the fundies, where it's like, no, you don't need to do the hands and feet of Jesus. You need to go win souls. Because
Preach the gospel.
Preach the gospel and win souls. But,
stand up on the soapbox.
Empty bellies don't listen.
Right.
There's a quote where it's like full bellies, open ears. Where if you feed somebody, over like especially like in third world countries, if you just give people food, they'll sit and listen to you. And that's how a lot of stuff works with like Feed the Hungry down in the third world countries. They give them food and then they tell them about Jesus. I think of Joseph Frericks. He's playing soccer. He's doing all these clinics. He's doing all these different things to be a gift to the community. But he flat out said, like, hey, we want to tell you about why we're doing this.
Right.
I think that's pretty solid, be the hands and feet of Jesus. So doing things that people can't ever return potentially for, to show loved your community, but in order to say, we do this because God tells us to love our neighbor and you're our neighbor.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
Good. I like it.
All right. Is it my turn?
It's your turn, bro.
Okay, bro. What are modern idols in the church?
This is this is a good one. We were actually discussing this a little bit before.
I feel like we've said this is a good one after.
They're all good questions, and
man.
I'm glad that our listeners are asking them. Modern day idols. Well,
modern day
I mean,
idols.
I'll just go ahead and shoot the easy ones real first. I mean, if we look at the Catholic Church, the statues of the saints and the figure of what they say is Jesus, which is
the crucifixion or the crucifix.
Yeah, the statues, and it's like yes and no.
Are those idols though?
I think
because we have crosses in our church.
But there's a difference. Do we go up and kiss the cross? They kiss like the feet of the statue of Jesus, of what's supposed to be Jesus and the saints.
Some traditions might, but we don't.
I know we don't, but I'm saying like that's kind of making them
that's
an
true
idol.
because they have like the relics.
Right.
Eastern Orthodox is the icons, but yeah, Catholic Church has like the relics.
So you got, I mean, those are kind of the easy ones that are like probably an idol. But what I would say is anything that you hold in higher regard than what the purpose of being at a church is for, is probably or could be an idol. Okay. So if you're looking at the worship, if you're just going because you like to sing songs, like there's no heart behind it. I just want to go sing songs, and this is a good band that plays the songs, and I like the songs, but there's no like, you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying? It could be construed.
I mean, I see where it's like a preference, where it's like this is the way we have to worship.
No. It's not about the heart. It's about the heart, where the heart's at with the worship. The heart is not in it. They're not. It's not just going through the motions, but it's like, oh man, it's like if Reliant K came to play at the church, and you had a bunch of these. Well, I guess Reliant K is a little.
Reliant K is a little old.
Sorry, I just showed my age.
Early thousands.
But back in my day, if like Reliant K would have came and played at a church and all the young punk rock guys would have shown up, were they really there for the church or were they there for see Reliant K?
But that's not an idol, though.
I said it could be used as an idol.
Okay.
Right? So an idol is something that you put above God.
Right.
That's my definition of an idol.
I think preferences can become idols, where it's like we need to do worship in this way and only this way, and all other ways are wrong.
No, that's a preference. I'm not talking about a preference.
But it can be, though. I'm thinking like if it's the way that if this is the way I want, so this is the way we have to do it, and I'm going to shove everyone down because this is what I want to do. Because I think of people who have killed things over preferences because they.
I agree. I think that, even pastors can be made into idols. Not the pastor making himself into an idol, but
the church puts they elevate him in such a status.
Right, exactly. If he's the untouchable, best thing. And praise God for Scott. Because Scott would be
He's a humble man.
Scott would be like, if that's the way the church views me, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm stepping down because that's not what it's about. And I could see Scott saying that, and I've never even talked to him about it, but I know that that's what he would say.
So here's a question then. Is there something different between a sacred cow and an idol? Because sacred cows are like, we have to have a bulletin because it's this way. Or another sacred cow is we want to keep these specific lights. We have to use the King James translation only. We have to have the piano. One church does that. There was a specific picture of Jesus in the lobby, and we could not get rid of it. They wouldn't let the chandeliers in the sanctuary.
I think there's preference, like you said, that can be construed.
Or even the pulpit.
Yeah.
Versus a stand.
Definitely.
Now that's a conversation. But is there a difference between sacred cows? Because a sacred cow is the calf was an idol.
Right. Which we got into an interesting conversation about, okay, well, they made the calf and they worshiped the calf, and that was an idol. And then God had Moses make the bronze serpent. It's like, wait a second, why did you have him make another statue for them to go look upon when they already screwed up with the bronze or the golden calf?
Right. Yep.
But anyways, that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, I think anything in our life could be used in an idol if it's used in the wrong way. Even this podcast could be an idol to you and I if we aren't careful and our intentions aren't for helping our brothers and sisters that are listening to have some tough conversations that aren't talked about in church and try to give some clarity on these certain topics. And I think that's what our focus has always been, is just to try to give as much clarity as we biblically can. Now, some of it's just our opinion, but we try to back it up with Scripture as best we can. We don't try to twist the Scripture into our opinion. We try to twist our opinion into Scripture. And I think, right now, I think if we ever got to the point where we were starting to think it was an idol, I would probably stop away from the podcast. I would say goodbye to our listeners, and that's where I would be personally, because I wouldn't want it to become that. I want it to become a helpful resource, another tool in the tool belt, for our listening audience. So that's my short, long answer.
That's cool. All right.
So we're
down
turn.
Just a couple more questions, man.
What's our time, Mark?
We're doing all right. We're at 42. Let's go.
Okay. Well, let's do two more questions.
Okay.
All right, two more questions, and then we'll go into our next thing. Let's see here. I'm going to try to pick it real quick here. We don't really have a whole lot left, do we?
Nope.
Is it wrong to want to be rich and famous, and if so, why?
I've heard some people say that they want to be rich so that they can support lots of missions work. Like they just and I know their hearts. I actually know their hearts pretty well. They're like, you know what? I have a good brain. I know how to be successful. Instead of making all this money and hoarding it all, I'm going to use it to bless the crap out of other people.
So what do you do with the scripture where Jesus talked about it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom
It's
of
true
heaven?
because you're dependent on your own stuff. Now, I think God blesses people who are humble, faithful in little, be faithful in much. I think that can happen in this world versus other worlds.
Yeah, definitely.
I know people who are very humble men, and they have millions.
Right.
They give it all. They give tons away. You
Right.
look at them, you're like, okay, yeah, you're a successful businessman, but you don't look like the Gucci swag. But at the end of the day, if you want, like all I want to be is rich and famous, I think that is a heart check that that's something's not right. That's not good. It's a dangerous path. So, can you be rich and famous, or should you want to be rich and famous? I think the answer is no. Coming from a person who life was lived on a platform, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And I was a pastor at a church with 250 people.
The thing is when you're famous, if you fall, everybody knows. And if you're not famous, if you fall, well, maybe a select few know.
Spotlight's on you.
Right.
And that's the hard thing. So should people want to be rich and famous? And that's the hard thing because everyone's always like, build your platform.
Right.
We're in the Instagram world where everyone wants to be an influencer and a platform. And,
right.
And, there's certain people out there who want to be influencers for the sole purpose of I just want to help people.
Yeah.
I'm learning some tough things. There's people who need to learn, so I just want to reach out and help them. That's what it's for. That's using it well. But if you're like, I want to be rich and famous, why? Because I want to be rich and famous.
Because I want to be well known and have lots of money.
Yeah. I think that's your red flags, your red light, your check engine light, your low tire pressure. You hit the rumble strips. You got to get your life back on track.
And the words of the Minions. Be-doo, be-doo, be-doo.
What does the Bible say is the fact of God gives grace to the humble, but what does he do to the proud?
Pride cometh before the fall, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. So in a lot of that, you'll want to be rich and famous. Why? Because you're prideful. It's all about you.
Right.
That's my quick take on that.
I would agree with that. That's a good one.
Cool. All right, you ready for this one?
All right, last question.
One.
Go for it.
How am I supposed to know what is wishful thinking versus what God is trying to tell me? That's a good one to end on right there.
Man, that's a tough one.
How am I supposed to know what is just wishful thinking versus knowing what God is trying to tell me?
I think it goes back to the God's will thing, which we had differing opinions on in that episode. But I will leave it with this, and this is going to be real short, but you can know if it's wishful thinking or if it's God trying to tell you something if it lines up with Scripture and if you're doing it for the right reason. It's a heart thing. It's a heart condition and does it line up with Scripture. If wishful thinking, like for me, I've had thoughts where it's like, man, I would love to just be a missionary pastor and go overseas and preach the gospel, sell everything I have and just go live with the poor. Don't care. For me, it's not practical right now because I have kids and it's just not my.
Why not?
Because it's not my family's calling.
Okay.
So that's, again, something I have to take into consideration. Yes, it may be my calling, but I know my wife.
And we're called to be missionaries everywhere we are.
Right, exactly. I can do it here or I can do it there. It doesn't really matter. But for me, it's like that's always been a dream of mine, but it's not a dream of my wife's. And I don't think my kids would enjoy it.
Right.
So I have to take into consideration of that. So to me, that's a wishful thought. But because I read scriptures about being one with my wife, about I have differing opinions on spousal relationships than most people, but I think that we're partners. That even though I'm the head, that the wife and the husband should be more.
It's a team.
It's more equal.
I'm with you on
with
that.
Equal input, and you should not make a move unless there is 100% agreement.
Right. It's like the joke of Eve was taken from Adam's rib, not his foot.
Right. Well, and a house divided can never stand. We know that from Scripture.
Right.
And so if I do something, if I make my wife, even though she would follow, if I made a decision that she didn't agree with, it would not be well for my marriage. So.
Right. So, and that makes sense for marriage. But what if you're single and you're like, you know what? I don't know if I should move to this city or go to this college or take this job or this opportunity.
We all know that God opens and closes doors.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if you feel like, hey, I should go to this city or this college, and there's an open door, and you're going for the reason of bettering your education so you can use your skills for God.
What if there's a lot of debt involved? That's hard.
That's a hard one. It all depends on your view of debt.
The Bible talks about that you're enslaved to the person you're indebted to.
Definitely true. I had student loans. I had student loans that just recently in the past couple of years got paid off, and I tell you what, I felt miserable for every year that I had a student loan. When the bills would come in, and it's like, man, if I could just get out from underneath it, especially when I started having a family, and it was like, man, I could have a great house with a huge down payment, no PMI, had I not had all the student debt. I could have had money just stocked, but instead I was paying and paying and paying, and actually I was only paying the minimum. So I was never really
of interest. Yeah.
I was never really getting rid of any debt. It was actually growing. And so it was like I was enslaved to it. And I just personally, I hated it. And I think it was the biggest mistake I personally had ever made. I'm not saying that for everybody.
Right. And I mean, the sad reality is like with student loans, like, almost to go to college with no student loans is very rare now.
It is.
Because college tuition, I think, is just ridiculous.
It is. But you don't necessarily have to go to college. You can go to trade school.
Right.
You don't have to have a college. Actually, it's actually this country is hurting more for tradespeople than it is for people with college degrees, and it's harder for people with college degrees to get a good paying job to pay for their student loans than it is for tradespeople just to go in and have no debt.
And it's hard to live with some of the decisions because, like I think of some of my family members who were planning on getting very good jobs, but then stuff happens.
I got I got a partner that I work with. He's got 3 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree.
Wait, 3 separate bachelor's?
3 separate bachelor's degree and a separate master's degree, and is working at the steel mill as a tradesperson, as a mechanic, because it pays better. So it's
hard because like if someone wants to go in the medical profession or a lawyer, you got to get. I mean,
and he was in the medical profession.
Oh wow, okay.
He's got a bachelor degree in nursing or something like that, or I think that's what it is. Or no, maybe it's radio. I don't know what it is. It's something in healthcare, and he's not using it. Like he used it for a couple of years, and he's like me. I got certifications and degrees in aviation,
right?
But I'm not using it, and it's just you just never know where you're going to end up. So that would be my thing. Make sure it's a thought that's got to be that lines up with God, something that God said, something that's not going to disobey God, and see if the door's open. Don't force doors open.
No, if they're open, and sometimes
they're open, walk through them if it doesn't contradict the Bible.
Here's the other thing, too, is the fact of don't think you're big enough to throw off God's will. Like, we're not big enough to throw it off. I'm the guy where it's like, you know what? Try it. If it doesn't work for a year, that's all right. Try something different. Like, just do something. Just make a choice.
What are you saying? There's a perfect will and an allowable will? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I'm just saying there's nothing. Like, I can't be like, oh, no, like for me, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to decide to work at this job versus this job. And all of a sudden God goes, oh, crap. I'm sure God would say, oh, crap. Oh, crap. Mark picked the wrong job that I had planned for him.
Oh, no. Now all of history is ruined.
Sorry, boss. I mean, now all of a sudden, 5,000 years from now.
It's the butterfly effect.
America explodes because Mark picked
It's
the
the
wrong
butterfly
job.
effect.
Like, yeah. I don't think that's a thing. But it's more the fact of, do some pros and cons. What does God say? Use wisdom. Talk to people. Talk with wise biblical counselors. I mean, I heard a thing from Charles Stanley, which I want to add this into my view of the playground. Is the fact of I didn't put prayer into it. Mine was all analytical because I'm an analytical thinker.
Stop it.
Sorry. But it's the fact of pray over it, and then if you're looking at it like I can make a choice. Make a choice, and if you got 2 jobs, 2 cities to live, make a choice and go for it, man.
Right.
And if it changes,
pray about it, and then make the choice.
And at the end of the day, life never goes the way we expect, man. And sometimes the choice that you make, no one will agree with you that was the right choice, but maybe it was because that's what God wanted.
Hey, I can tell you from experience that was Paul Lindgren and his wife Katie. A lot of people didn't agree with them getting married because they were engaged like after 3 months of knowing each other. 3 or 4 months or something like that, and he was moving to Indianapolis, and it was like, whoa, man, slow down, you're moving too fast. Not saying that it can't happen eventually, but you need to slow your roll. Like a lot of people, including myself, I said it. Now I had my own reasons for saying it wasn't for,
whatever. But the fact of he followed what he thought.
Right, he followed what, and it's turned out great for him.
In case,
she's perfect. She's perfect for him. She's absolutely perfect. The perfect spouse he could have ever had.
That's cool.
So
that's really cool.
Anyways, all right. Well,
did we wait? Hold on. We answered them all, dude? We answered them all because, dude, we answered them all. We are the champions.
It's not. You got to have the effects board up and ready to go.
I know. Hey, we got through all the questions.
All right. So tonight, again, just like the last episode, rather than doing the fun facts with Fuller, we are going to do something very special tonight. We actually had. We sent this out to. You sent it out on Instagram or
the either or.
Yeah.
Or
The rapid fire question thing.
No, I just texted individual people.
Oh, okay. Well, Beth Schneider hit us back up with a would you rather list.
This whole list is from Beth Schneider. Well, we added one of our own, but this whole list is from Beth Schneider.
It's from Beth Schneider. So we're going to, instead of doing anything else, instead of fun facts with Fuller, this will be the last.
And I should say, last episode, our rapid fire was all from Nicole Haubold.
Right. How bold.
Sorry,
How
Nicole.
bold. How bold.
It was from Nicole.
How bold.
Micah's wife. It was from Micah's wife.
Jesse's wife.
Jesse's
Anyways.
girl. No. All right, but these are from
anyways,
Beth, so these are a either or Bible edition.
It is, and Fun Facts with Fuller will return soon. I won't say next episode because I don't know what next episode has in store for us, but it should be returning soon here for us. But anyways, let's do the Would You Rather. Mark, why don't you go ahead and start us off today?
Would you rather go through the plagues of frogs or go through the plague of darkness from Egypt?
That's to me. I think I would rather go through the plague of darkness.
Now, let's just say these are not if you had this is an if you had to. This I ain't asking for no frogs and I ain't asking for no darkness.
Right, yeah, we're not asking for any of these.
We're not trying to be
if we
sacrilegious.
had to choose between the two, what would we choose?
If you have to pick between the two sucky options, which one would you pick?
I would choose the darkness because at least if I was back then, I could light a lamp.
If you could find it.
If you could find it. If not, I would just sleep.
Because it was darkness. It was
pure
darkness.
Man, this is perfect. I'm just going to sleep for the next however many
But
days.
haven't you seen those places that are complete darkness and they go insane?
Yeah, I've read about them. I've been in like caves and stuff, caverns where it's been. So what would you choose, Mark? Oh, man.
I hate frogs.
Dude, that's why I chose the
frogs
darkness.
Gross me out. I don't like touching frogs.
Slimy and
Elliot will find a frog outside, be like, "Daddy, pick it up." I'm like, "Nope, pick it up." Nope.
I like scoot them along with my foot, like with the shoe on.
They always pee or poop on you when you hold them.
Right.
But all right, so next one: would you rather walk on water or would you rather talk to a burning bush? What would you rather do for it?
Is it based upon like who I would be with during that time? Because if it's with Jesus, walk on water.
I mean, but
if it's just based on like.
But if you're talking to the burning bush, you're also talking to God. Or according to the SpongeBob movie, Keanu Reeves.
That's true, but something about walking on water like with Jesus.
Walking
hand in
on
hand.
water sounds dope. I'm just saying, walking on water sounds dope.
I don't like deep water, but if it was with Jesus, I'm down. So, Mark, fiery furnace or den of lions? Would you rather? This is a rough one.
Do I die?
Beth Schneider didn't say. She just said,
Beth Schneider, you are so mean.
I mean, we know what happens in the Bible, so I guess it really doesn't matter.
This is so mean, Beth.
See, I'm gonna go with, I don't know. I'll let you go first because I still haven't decided. I thought I did, and then I thought about it, and I'm
gonna
nope.
say the furnace because that's always has been a fear of mine, dying by fire. But that's a legitimate fear. But also dying by drowning. But it said it was so hot that the dudes who threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in died as well.
Right.
So I think that would be a lot less brutal than lions. It'd be less brutal.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
And I'm no Lion King.
I think unless they like the lion bit my neck and like killed me instantly, it would suck to be mauled by lions. Let's
just move on. That was gross.
All right. Anyways, okay. I think it's your turn to ask.
I've asked them all.
Okay. Would you rather have a diet of manna and quail or locusts and honey?
Manna and quail.
Locusts and honey, man.
No. Well, you would eat locusts?
Have you tried locusts? Tastes like chicken.
What?
It tastes like chicken. You've never eaten locust before?
No, I'm a city boy.
Like you can buy it online, like a little locust and honey pack.
Why would I buy locusts and honey?
Dude, you haven't tried stuff like that?
I don't even eat honey.
We're going to do a live edition of RTC where we try different foods.
No, if we do a live RTC, it's going to be a tattoo shop. Not eating locusts and honey. No.
All right, let's move on. Would you rather give all your gold for a golden calf or walk 2 miles as a Jew with a Roman?
2 miles. I'd rather walk 2 miles.
Duh.
I mean, the Roman could do whatever he wants to me, I guess, but I'm like, right, you want to take a month cold
more than likely
fake golden
that
thing?
Roman's
Nope.
probably just going to be pulling you along by a chain, so it's like, whatever.
True. I mean, I'd rather walk the 2 miles. All right, here you go. Would you rather be on the ark with all the nasty smelling animals for the length of time that Noah was, the full year, or in the belly of a whale for 3 days?
The ark.
So you'd rather be in the ark for a whole year
Heck
than
yeah,
a belly
man.
of a
Can you
whale?
imagine the digestive juices in a whale's stomach that you'd have to be like wallowing in and whatever it's been eating and the smell of that?
Jonah would be as white as a
thank
vampire.
you. You know what? I could go up on the top deck of the ark and get some fresh air. So I would say ark. What would you say? You're taking too long, man. It's rapid.
If it was for only 3 days, I think I would be in the belly of a whale. for 3 days. Until I can just get it done.
Can you imagine when the whale spit Jonah out? What he must have smelled like?
How dark was it though? Too. I didn't think about that.
There's no light.
Screw it. I'm going in the ark. I'm going in the ark. Nope, go in the ark. All right.
Come with me if you want to live. Last one.
You're going to have the red pill or the blue pill?
Would you rather, this is the one we added because it was pretty good. Would you rather attend the Sermon on the Mount or the Day of Pentecost?
Oh, dude, this
is the hardest one.
I think, yeah, because Beth was throwing us some nasty ones.
We're like, we don't want to keep dying.
I would have loved to have been at the Day of Pentecost with Peter to see the birth of the church.
I feel that way, but I would also love to watch and hear and listen Jesus' sermon as he's speaking it, and as he's like, to me, that would just be so fascinating to watch Jesus teach.
Oh, I mean, 100%. Like, it's Jesus.
I agree with you. This is like the two, like, I would want to be at both. Like, let's be honest.
Why wouldn't you want to see the church be born rather than...
Why wouldn't you want to
why don't you want to see Jesus? Like, geez.
So I think we're gonna split it there. I'm gonna go with Sermon on the Mount. You're gonna go with Pentecost.
I'm gonna go with Day of Pentecost.
We'll get back together and we'll discuss what we talked about, you know.
We'll get back together.
We'll be like, hey, how was your visit to Pentecost? Mine was pretty good with Jesus.
Hey, I got my iPhone 11. All right, Peter. Wait.
Wait, hang on. Selfie.
Hold on. Wait, no. Instagram's not ready. Okay, and Instagram Live.
Facebook Live.
Go. That would be absolutely hilarious. But either way, dude, that was a lot of fun.
That was. Two whole episodes.
We went another hour. We're sorry. We tried.
We tried.
We started the podcast like at a minute and a half.
Yeah, I mean, we were going good, and then we started dragging on. But we answered a bunch of questions, so.
We answered at least 10, and then these nasty Beth Schneider curveballs or whatnot. So so we mentioned 2 different people so far in this podcast. Oh, 3. We mentioned Paul Lindgren, a good friend of ours with the intro music and this beautiful outro music.
Yeah, he's playing this
right
music
now.
right now.
We also mentioned the Frericks, Joseph and Kimberly, episode 40, Missionaries to Peru. They're still raising support.
Yep.
So if you want to raise support with them, reach out to us and we'll get you in touch with them. Or just follow them to Frericks, the number 2, Peru on Instagram. That'll also hit you up. And then Schneider Ladies, episode 39. Just Schneider Ladies. That's it. You can hear the story of the foster to adopt with Beth. But seriously, reach out to us. We want to continue these conversations. We know we did not answer all of these questions to their extreme detail, but hopefully some of this answered some of the questions that you guys did have. But continue to reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Real Talk Christian Podcast or Real Talk Christian Podcast at gmail.com. But until next time, guys,
take it easy.
Thank you for listening to Real Talk Christian. To help get our podcast into the ears of other people who need to hear these conversations, we would love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. To keep the conversations going, feel free to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and share our content with others. See you next time.